Welcome to the GPLama YouTube channel and to a video about a trainer that I've probably spent the most time on over the last 4 to 5 months. This is the TrueTrainer 8.2 from a company called TrueKinetix out of the Netherlands. This trainer has a few features that make it quite unique, hence the title Rethinking Resistance, because that's exactly the goal TrueKinetix set out to achieve with their True Bike and now this, their TrueTrainer range. Okay, before getting into all the details, just some company background on TrueKinetix and what they're all about, and their LinkedIn page summarizes this perfectly. TrueKinetix was founded in 2018 by a rebellious triathlete who wanted to invent the ideal indoor bike trainers that simulate the outdoor experience as closely as possible and build strength. Together with top universities, and I'm not going to try and pronounce those Dutch names there, TrueKinetix developed an innovative technology based on a powerful electric engine and robotics that mimic the outdoor experience perfectly and cultivate strength. So in summary there, the company's mission is to make indoor cycling as close to outdoor cycling as possible. Okay, onto the technical specifications of the trainer that I've been riding, the TrueTrainer 8.2. So direct drive, interactive smart trainer, sim mode, erg mode, all those things we know and love. It has a motor resistance unit using TrueForce technology, sampling at 10,000 times a second and applying resistance at 1,000 times a second. TrueKinetix have a lot more detail on their TrueForce technology and the science behind it over on their website. I'll link to this in the video description below if you want to dive into all the details, the studies, right down to the muscle activation, pedaling indoors and out. On the connectivity side of things, the TrueTrainer 8.2 has Wi-Fi built in, supporting Direct Connect, which makes life a lot easier hooking everything up. It also supports Bluetooth, FTBS, and ANT+ FEC. Power accuracy, plus or minus 0.5% claimed. Maximum power, 2600 watts. Unfortunately, I can't test to those levels. Maximum incline, 26%. Bike compatibility, pretty much everything. So Shimano 8 to 12 speed, quick release through axle bikes, and the SRAM XDR driver is also available aftermarket. The unit weight, 15 kilos. There's some built-in rocking motion with what I call squishy feet, and the unit also has a little bit of flex in the frame. One of the unique features of the TrueTrainer is its virtual cassette or virtual gearing. Now this is different to virtual shifting in that you can map every single one of your physical gears. I'll talk more about this a little later. Onto the extras, and with the TrueTrainer 8.2 there is a HDMI output port that shows some basic training metrics on screen. There's a heart rate bridge and also a USB-A charging port. The unit runs on mains power or battery with up to 3 hours of training available using the battery. And when it comes to noise, it's quiet, just not silent though. My fans, my music, etc. are all louder in the Lama Lab. Pricing for the TrueTrainer 8.2 comes in at just under 1,700 euros. The availability is in Europe, obviously, and there's a sign-up list if you're outside of Europe to show your interest in this trainer. Okay, so there are all the technical details. The most notable attributes of that is it's a motor resistance control, Wi-Fi built in, and it gives you the option for a virtual cassette for gear remapping. All right, let's get stuck into those details. The TrueTrainer 8.2 can be configured with a standard physical cassette, say 8 to 12 cogs on the back, as well as giving you the option to remap that gearing virtually. This is a little different to virtual shifting because you'll still change your gears physically. It's the TrueTrainer that does that remapping virtually on the fly. So let's say you're riding an 1125 physical cassette on the trainer, but you still need more gearing options for climbing. You can effectively remap that cassette within the settings to give you a virtual 1134 gearing range, and the TrueTrainer will automatically do the adjustments within a second or two of that physical change. You can also virtually remap your front chain rings too. When it comes to virtual shifting, where you leave your bike in the same physical gear front and back and change gears virtually, I'm told that's coming soon. And with the resistance unit applying resistance changes 1,000 times per second, you can betcha those gear changes are going to hit pretty fast. I suspect they're going to have to bring that speed down a little bit. We're going to blow your knees out going from small ring to big ring within literally milliseconds. All right, those details out of the way, let's get to the core of what TrueKinetix are all about. What's that ride really feel like? So riding a bike indoors has traditionally been about basic resistance, pushing the pedals around against a set of rollers, maybe a fluid trainer, and then as technology evolved, we saw dynamically controlled resistance units appear, from the CompuTrainer to the Wahoo Kicker to the Neo and beyond. But that beyond definition really hasn't changed much over the years because resistance is resistance, right? Kind of. It's complicated. So not all resistance is created equal. If you've ever ridden the RevBox, you'll know immediately what I'm talking about. That trainer had next to no inertia and it felt nothing like riding a bike outside, yet it was providing resistance, although very poorly. in my opinion. Now, if you've watched my video on does gear selection matter in erg mode, you know exactly what I'm talking about, where 300 watts erg at 90 RPM feels entirely different with a slow flywheel versus a high flywheel at the same power and same RPM. So while resistance is resistance, how that resistance is overcome or ridden can differ greatly depending on the indoor training technology used. So in summary, while the overall resistance can be correct, the momentary resistance you feel during the pedal stroke is completely determined by the inertia and your gearing. It is a common belief that a bigger flywheel is better because more inertia, but how much inertia is enough? Now, while talking about good ride feel indoors, I do have to mention the Le Monde Revolution trainer in this section. Even though that was one of the most loudest non-smart direct drive trainers out there, if you've owned one and ridden one, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. So buttery smooth, such a great ride feel indoors. But for now, back to the TrueTrainer. And the first ride I did was with the Coco Pace Partner Bunch on Zwift on a flat course, and I immediately had to change to the big ring and adjust the gearing that I was using as if I was rolling with the bunch at that speed outdoors. The Coco crew were rolling at about 39 to 43 k's an hour, and the physical gearing I needed seemed pretty close to what I need to be using outdoors at those speeds. Now, with the current technology we have, it's almost impossible to measure that ride feel. It's something you'll need to experience to really know. 1 Hz data logging really isn't going to give much insight. 50 Hz on the Rotor Talk 360 app did reveal some supporting data, although I need to grab their desktop app again to do a further deep dive on this, and unfortunately, Rotor doesn't offer this to download on their site any longer. So with the TrueTrainer giving a pretty realistic ride feel on the flats, it was then onto the hills. And in my conversations with the team from TrueKinetix, it's something they've really focused on. Now, I've covered a few trainers in the past where when you stand up and put a ton of power down, you'll slip the trainer out. Or when you rip out a 1200 watt sprint, that's all I've got, you can effectively push your foot through the pedal and give you it's just a horrible experience. I can confirm the sprints with this machine, I cannot overcome the resistance. And up a climb, I did some interesting testing back in January. Let's have a look at that. Now, while in Adelaide at the Tour Down Under this year, I took the opportunity to go out and ride the real-life climb portal they had in Zwift at the time. So here I am just starting the Willunga climb in real life and the Willunga climb that is replicated in-game. Now on screen here I have gearing shown, so both bikes were identical. I have cadence, power, lap time, etc. And what was really interesting is as the gradient kicked up indoors, I pretty much changed 1 for 1 outdoors as well. Now indoors was a little quicker or required a little less watts. I put that down to Zwift having a perfectly smooth road surface and no wind. You can see there on screen I've got a 13 km/h northeasterly, which is a bit of a headwind in some sections. Anyhow, this was a test to see, well, one, how real was the climb portal simulation? And the answer was it wasn't too bad. And next, how real was that feeling of the TrueTrainer? And again, it was pretty close. Okay, back to regular speed as I approach the top of the KOM here, and I'm in the same gear, 612, 612, as I'm topping out, passing the crown on the road there. Great climb. If you ever get a chance to come to the TDU, this is definitely worth putting on the bucket list of climbs. Okay, job done, and I was done both indoors and out, except Zwift just put that little bit extra at the top as I approach that arch. Well, there's the finish line in real life, and the arch coming up right about here, indoors. Alrighty. So a little bit less watts indoors, but the effort 1 for 1, pretty spot on actually. I was quite impressed.
I am done.
And yes, I was done. So onto the data analysis side of things on my favorite website, the DCR Analyzer tool, where we can compare multiple outputs as an overlay and see how things stack up. We have the TrueTrainer 8.2 up against the Asioma Pro MX, and things looking good overall. 148, 149 for a Lama Lab test short with a few sprints, a few ramps. Let's have a quick dive into this. Warm up through here into a sprint, 189, 193 as things warm up, diving into the sprint. The GPLama Pro MX is getting that first spike and then leveling off just nicely. That's all looking good. Now, how this performs in the low erg test, so 60 watts, 80 watts, 100 watts, 120 watts, right here into my 200 and 250. So this is those lower areas, and not too bad for those, a little spiky on the GPLama Pro MXs and a little bit of smoothing happening on the TrueTrainer. The GPLama is probably more realistic to what's happening there, but 182, 184.73, that's all looking pretty good. The erg mode stability is all good with this, into the sprint after that, and again, things get a bit messy on the pedals, but no major separations for my output of 1180 or 1236 there for those two peak powers. Into the over and unders, and then the flywheel speed test. The data is a little bit laggy coming from the TrueTrainer. They have tweaked that since this was February this year, so a few months ago. But overall, providing that nice resistance and bringing up and bringing back down. Into the flywheel speed test and my ramp test, and probably one of the best performers when it comes to the flywheel speed test. So at the lower flywheel speed, power's going up and down a little bit. The TrueTrainer is obviously smoothing a little bit there. Right in the sweet spot, spot on perfect. And at a high flywheel speed, things aren't too far off, maybe a few watts here and there, but usually we see trainers completely fall apart there for accuracy. When it comes to the ramp test, all is looking good there. A little bit lagged with the TrueTrainer as it's responding to those efforts with the smoothing apply, but overall looking pretty good. And then just riding along home, 138.75 versus 140.49. So pretty close there for that data set. Jumping ahead to data set number 2, another Lama Lab test here with a verification test at the end. Again, 158, 156. This is the TrueTrainer now up against the PowerMax in Gico. Same data again with the erg tests and the sprints, those being 1 watt off there, so that's looking pretty good. Diving into the 20-second over and under erg mode tests, the flywheel speed test and the ramp test, all as one here. So the overs and unders, as we saw with the previous data set, the data is just a little bit lagged coming from the TrueTrainer, but they have addressed that. It's a little quicker now. The set point change though was absolutely fine. That motor is very, very fast at what it does. Flywheel speed test, I stuffed up that first section through here. Once I got that corrected, it was the same as the last set we saw up against the GPLama Pro MX, only separating just a little bit there at massively high flywheel speed, so the 5211 on the back. And the ramp test, same as before, a little spikier coming from the Power to Max, and the data being smooth from the TrueTrainer, but overall the effort was there. It was definitely pushing back on the pedals harder than I could push through. And finally returning to the steady states and sprint just as a validation to see if anything had drifted during that session. So apart from the little glitch here from the Power to Max, which put that number down a little low, things looking nice and smooth there. And in the sprint, that was only very short, but the spikes are 1161 and 1127, so not too far off there for peak power. And lastly, a quick look at the cadence from the TrueTrainer, which is estimated from your pedal stroke and your power phase. Steady state, no problems at all through here. It does get a bit tripped up every now and then when there's a big resistance change. So here are my overs and unders. Right here you can see there it dips down a little bit when the resistance is taken away and then comes straight back up once you start applying power again. The Power to Max, which is always spinning, is able to determine exactly what RPMs that I am doing. But overall for the cadence, nothing too unexpected there. Overall 70 RPM versus 70 RPM. Okay, onto my summary and takeouts from my time with the TrueTrainer 8.2, and I really do like the fact that TrueKinetix are focusing on that indoor ride feel. It's not something I'd say other companies have ignored, but a lot of the time they'll just throw a larger flywheel at the problem and call it done. Okay, so I can't do a video on real ride feel without getting out here and riding my bike. And onto my final discussion point, that being a question that I posed to TrueKinetix. Who is this technology designed for? Is it targeting just the elites? And their answer was no. The people who have upgraded to their units come from all levels, juniors all the way through to seniors. So my question for you guys, my call to action will be, if you've ridden a True bike or you ride a True bike at home or a TrueTrainer, let me know in the comments below. What's the experience like for you? What training have you come from? And how is it going? I'm really keen to hear some other real world experiences of this technology. All right, and with that, it's winter here. Thankfully they haven't, that was close. Thankfully they haven't simulated winter or idiots and Hyundais. All right, let's get back to the Lama Lab, finish this one off. Okay, so in wrap up, the best advice I can give is that if you ever see a true bike or a true trainer at a trade show, let's say Eurobike in a few weeks, or in a bike store, jump on and turn the pedals yourself and see what that experience is all about. All right, we'll leave it there for today. Stay tuned for the virtual shifting on the TrueTrainer. It's going to be implemented just a little bit differently to how Zwift do it, connecting the controllers to the game. These controllers will go straight to the trainer. Should be some very, very interesting stuff. All right, with that, thanks for watching. As always, if you've enjoyed this one, give it a thumbs up. Hit subscribe to be across more videos uploaded to this channel, and we shall see you soon.